MrBEAST, one of the most popular YouTube bloggers on the planet. I would not be wrong to say that every fifth blogger dreams of meeting him, taking a photo together and taking part in shooting his videos. I recently had that opportunity. An opportunity that could have cost me my life. This story happened a few days ago. I woke up to the call from the postman at my apartment. His visit was unexpected, as I had not ordered any packages. When I opened the door, the man handed me an envelope with a letter. To my deep surprise, it was an invitation to the birthday party of the most famous blogger in the world, MrBEAST. But since we don't know each other personally, I have a small channel on YouTube, but it was a pleasant shock to find out that the most popular blogger in the world knows about me. I was insanely happy with this expected gift of fate. The invitation looked like an envelope for money, which is a direct hint of a monetary gift. But how much to give the richest blogger? It was silly to refuse, because it was my chance to meet MrBEAST, and if I was lucky, to shoot a collaboration with him. The date was written in the letter, May 7, as well as the time and place of the party. The next day, I called the taxi to the specified address. The journey took several hours, as the destination was far from my apartment. When I arrived, a huge estate opened up before me, standing alone in the middle of the forest. A lot of people gathered on the street, who also received an invitation from MrBEAST. Perhaps the blogger was preparing a large-scale challenge in honor of his birthday, flashed thought my head. I met several guys who also received an invitation. All of them were aspiring bloggers. Someone had 10,000 subscribers, someone had 100,000 subscribers. However, among the invited guests, I did not notice a single blogger whose channel would exceed 1 million subscribers. Strange that MrBEAST decided to celebrate his birthday not with popular bloggers, but with those who had recently started a YouTube channel. Standing at the entrance to the mansion was MrBEAST. Next to him were two security guards and a man with a camera in his hands. All the guests who arrived lined up and took turns approaching the birthday boy, handing him a gift envelope with money in it. Taking the envelope, the guest was invited to stand in front of the photo area that stood in front of the door to the mansion. It might have been the only bright spot in the midst of the huge gloomy mansion. When it was my turn, I approached MrBEAST trying to wish him a happy birthday and shake his hand. However, one of his guards stopped me, took the envelope from my hands, and silently pointed in the direction of the bright photo area. When I asked if I could take a photo with MrBEAST, the security guard said no, saying that the blogger would take a photo only at the end of the event. I didn't get upset, realizing that there were a lot of people who wanted to take photos, and so as not to hold everyone else up, I stood by the photo area. The man with the camera photographed me in profile, and I was able to go inside the mansion. The whole of the building was in dark red colors. The huge room was lit by wall lamps and a large chandelier on the ceiling. No tables, no seats, nothing that resembled a traditional birthday party. Just a large, empty room with a blood red hue. After about 15 minutes, all the invited guests were in the building. MrBEAST and his entourage were the last to enter. After that, the huge front doors closed. The blogger stood in front of the guest and after waiting for a deadly silence in the room, began to speak.
Hello and welcome to my birthday party. Thank you to everyone who accepted the invitation and come here today. A big request, stay here and don't go anywhere until I come out to you,
said Beast. After that, the blogger turned around and, together with the security guards and the photographer, went down the next door, disappearing from sight. The casket-like silence was gradually diluted by the laughter of the guests and the communication with each other, not the usual partying for us bloggers, who are used to loud music, snacks and alcohol. 20 minutes later, the door into which MrBEAST entered opened. The guests peered curiously into the next room, which was shrouded in darkness. What did it conceal? Only blackness. It seemed to lure them in. Everyone present looked at each other thoughtfully, until one of the guests decided to enter it. He walked slowly toward the door until he passed the threshold, moving toward into the depth of the dark room. His silhouette gradually disappeared.
22.
Sounded a woman's voice from a speaker that inconspicuously hung from the ceiling in the corner of the hall. 22? What could that mean? From the crowd swiftly, another of the guests entered the dark room.
21.
Again said a woman's voice from the speaker. The count goes down every time one enters the room. Someone in the crowd assumed that we were thus invited into the dark room, for MrBEAST himself had earlier entered it in the same way. One by one, the guests began to walk through the open door, while the woman's voice from the speakers continued their countdown.
20. 19. 18. 17.
There were fewer and fewer guests in the hall. I took my time entering the dark room, letting the others ahead of me until I noticed an oddity.
8. 7. 6. 5. 4.
Stop, I said. Don't you think that's strange? 4 more people might come into the room, but there are 5 of us left. If I understand correctly, one of us has to stay here, doesn't he? When I shared my worries, there was that silence in the hall. No one thought to count the invited guests at the beginning. What was MrBEAST up to, and why couldn't only 23 people enter that secret dark room? Is this a game? Another blogger's quest? What if MrBEAST is in that room shooting a video and the guest who stays in the lobby will not participate and therefore will lose the opportunity to make a good financial fortune? The gloomy manner was terrifying to the most important question of all. What would happen to whoever stayed here proudly alone? The anxious 5 remaining guests looked at each other. Each of us wanted to go into the dark room without knowing what awaited him there. One of those present suggested a game of heads or tails, which involved tossing a coin. Whoever got heads moved on, and whoever got tails stayed here. The first tosser was the guy who suggested the game. He got the heads. Joyful, he went into the dark room, handed the coin to the girl standing next to him.
3.
A woman's voice sounded from the speakers, hanging from the ceiling. The remaining guests stared tenaciously at the coin the girl was about to flip. It was eagle again. Jumping happily, she handed the coin to me and ran into the secret room, following the others.
Yes, screw y'all.
Shouted the guy standing to the side, who didn't wait his turn, pushing the girl away from the door and quickly skipping in front of her. The girl hurried after him with indignation.
2. 1.
A voice counted down from the loudspeaker on the ceiling. There were only 2 people left in the hall, me and the person standing in front of me. A young girl with tears beginning to flow down her cheeks. If the eagle fell to me now, she would be left here alone, never knowing what prize awaited those who entered the dark room. Her lips trembled. She was afraid of being alone. Afterward, the girl spoke.
Please, I come from a very poor family. I started a YouTube channel hoping it would help me become independent from my parents. When I got an email from MrBEAST, I couldn't believe my lucky. If there's a blogger in this room making video, and all the guests become contributors and can make money, I will financially provide for my parents. I really need the chance. Please, please.
I looked at the coin and then at her weeping eyes. Without realizing it, I handed the coin to the girl and told her to go into the dark room. Wiping her tears, she took the coin from my hands, said a quiet "thank you," and left.
Selection completed.
The door to the secret room closed automatically. I was left all alone in the hallway in complete silence. I looked sadly at the door as if it were a missed opportunity, the opportunity to become rich and famous. I stood in confusion of what next. The main door to the mansion was closed. Did I have no choice but to wait for the secret room to finish what the birthday boy had prepared for his quest? Little by little, the silence, the loneliness, and the dark red walls began to weigh on my psyche. Gradually, a feeling of anger came to me at myself from giving up the coin, giving up my place in the secret room. What if my luck never smiled on me again? And I'd remain a useless blogger with a little channel. Fool, I'd be with the rest of the guests now. Instead, I'm stuck in the lobby. Suddenly, there was a great cry from the dark room, followed by another and another. They were screams of pain, screams of suffering. In the background, I distinctly heard the sound of a chainsaw. What the fuck is going on out there? I thought. The sound of the chainsaw intensified and the heartbreaking screams turned into pleas for mercy. They shouted. It was the guests who entered the dark room. The screams that flooded the hallway were followed by a thin screech that sounded something like a painless screech. The guests were being slaughtered alive. I ran to the door in a panic, pulling the handle in an attempt to open it, but the door would not budge. Then I started kicking at it, trying to kick it out as quickly as possible to save the hostages of the dark room, but it was stronger than steel. Exhausted, falling to my knees near the door, I was left only to torment myself by listening to the screams of the people who had recently stood with me in the hallway. There were fewer and fewer of them by the minute, until after a while it was over. There was silence again in the dark red room. I couldn't believe that everything I had heard was true. Everyone who had entered the dark room was dead. Every one of them had come here for the birthday of their favorite blogger, but all they got was pain, suffering, and eternal rest. And I too could have been part of that hell. I got to my feet and ran to the front door, hoping that after the main grinder in the dark room, it opened, but it was still treacherously locked. I looked at the speaker that hung from the ceiling and shouted, "What's next? Am I next? Hello?" My voice was filled with anger, but even so I was scared out of my wits. Suddenly, behind me, I heard the dark room slowly begin to open. The surprise knocked me off my feet, and I collapsed in fear. Without taking my eyes off the secret room, I crawled as far away from it as I could. Out of the doorway came MrBEAST. His face shone with a smile that I hadn't noticed earlier in the day. Behind the blogger, a photographer and two security guards emerged from the room. I jumped up from the floor, extending my arms in a defensive posture. MrBEAST stood across from me, looked at my hands, smiled and said,
Congratulations, you win. Here's your prize.
He handed me the stack of envelopes the guests had given him for his birthday, the same envelopes with money in them.
We counted it. There is $18,000.
Beast added. I looked at the stacks of envelopes in his hand, and then I looked at the blogger. I couldn't believe this was really happening. Was this a game? A game with people's lives? But why? The blogger, who was an example to everyone, turned out to be the devil in the guise of a smiling guy. Afterwards, MrBEAST went on talking.
I see your bewilderment. You know what I mean. All my life, I've been shooting entertainment content. I'm so sick of the perpetually mug shots on camera that one day I asked myself what I'm doing this for, and most importantly, what can I leave behind? Everything going on in this mansion is just a show that will go out on my channel, and all the bloggers just poons and actors. Everybody wanted a collaboration with me. They got it. And I had a good birthday party in return. I'm 24, and so were the guests at tonight's party. Remember, I said at the beginning what everyone should stay in the lobby and wait for me to get here. You are the only one who followed the rules and did not go into the room, and that's who you survived. As a gift, you get all the envelopes I was given and the joint photo you asked for.
Gradually, my eyes began to cut over. I felt like I was weakening. MrBEAST continued.
Oh, I forget to tell you, there was carbon monoxide smoke coming into this room all the time. That's why you are going to pass out very soon. But don't worry, we don't let you die. Thank you for your game the game.
Subscribe to my channel.
I don't remember passing out. I didn't wake up until today, in my apartment on the floor. For a moment I thought all the hell was just a weird dream I had, until I saw a stack of neatly folded money envelopes, a bloody coin, and a giant photo with MrBEAST with me passed out on the floor. Friends, this story is a fiction. MrBEAST is one of my favorite bloggers, and I'd love it if you'd help spread it around so he can see it and comment on it. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you like scary stories.